Welcome to Master Muse, Robb Torres. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm good. A little haphazard. I have this whole entire setup in my closet. I know that you can't tell that this is a closet because it's so beautifully designed. But there's a lot of little special parts that have to be connected so that I look like I'm in this special little box. 'Cause my room is like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid that.
This room was the same thing, so I got all this like fancy acoustic paneling. You can see
Okay.
all there.
Okay, well, you're fancier than I am and maybe a little ahead of me in this process for recording. Is this a space that you record music in?
Yes, this
Okay.
is. It's
All right.
a
So, okay, here's
bedroom too, but yeah, no, it's kind of like my little man cave studio.
Okay, I like it.
Got all the cool gear and stuff down there.
Ooh, okay.
I'm
All right,
attached to a wire, so I can only move the computer so much. But
when you first started recording in wherever you were at the beginning of your career outside of a studio, what did you have?
What did I have? Okay, so that's a fun question because I've been dabbling with this stuff for a long time, but the very first thing that I bought, and this was like back in like late '90s probably, was Roland made this like all-in-one hard disk recorder. So it like recorded, and it had like you could plug the microphones into it, and it had the little faders. And at the time I probably spent like $1,500 on that and a set of headphones, and
1,500 in the 90s.
And it was like kind of like it was an interesting thing because it was all, I could take it anywhere. It was a very mobile unit. It wasn't attached to the wall or anything, I mean, other than the power. But yeah, it was cool. But then when I read the instructions, it was translated from Japanese because Roland, I guess, is a Japanese company. And so a lot of the instructions were just super kind of hard to understand, and you had to like, go into these parameters, and it's like a little small LED screen on it like this. And you had to go through these different menus and stuff. And it was kind of, I mean, it was so overwhelming that the unit sat there for probably like 6 months before.
Yeah, because what the kids don't realize is that you didn't have YouTube that says, bring up the Roland 5000 and tell me everything about it.
90s, yeah, there was no, I mean, there was internet, but there was no.
Right, not like that.
Not like this. Nobody was on it, And so I went to go see this band called Basilos, which is a sort of Latin pop band. And it was such a great show. And then I went home and I wrote my first song, and then I wanted to record it, and that's it. I kind of figured it out, and it became this tool that I had recorded so much material on that I was just blazing through it with blindfold, that I could just, and I'd record some of my earlier stuff, and I'd record friends and all this stuff, and I got so good on it,
Your $1,500 Roland.
Yeah, it paid off. I kind of wish I still had it because it didn't sound bad at all, but now I got more fancier stuff. But
yeah. Okay, so I was listening to some interviews that you've done in the past, and oh my gosh, the story. Personally, it's been a minute. I'm not going to get into details. But one of the questions was about, and it's really generally where I start, like, what is your relationship to music? How did you start? Was there somebody in the family? And it brought you to a story that I personally found just a little bit humorous. You mentioned that your uncle, when you were around 13, came to the house or wherever you were, and he had an acoustic guitar. Yeah. He did not play the guitar in front of you. He probably played the guitar.
I never saw him play it. No.
You never saw him play it.
And he was actually living with us.
Okay, so he's living there, and he's got his security blanket, which is this guitar, and you're like, cool guitar, Oh, also somewhere in that interim, you got a book of Leppard songs.
Oh yeah.
So you're like, okay, so wow. You meet the guitar.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you meet the guitar. You're like, hi, guitar. you're okay. And then you get a book and you're like, book about guitar. Cool. Still not touching guitar.
No.
And then you work at Burger King, get money, and go, what should I buy with said money? Guitar.
Yeah.
Like, is this an accurate representation of how you got into playing guitar?
Yeah. Pretty much. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I never picked it up. I don't know. I guess I was into Dungeons and Dragons at the time, but
okay, yeah. My ex, my son, yes, I'm very familiar. Had it in the basement.
There was some.
Were you a music listener when you were growing up?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's how I got the Def Leppard book, because back then, the Columbia records and tapes, right? So for people who don't know, you can
explain to so many people.
You send in a pen, you tape a pen into the thing, and you can get 12 cassette tapes. So I started, I got my 12 cassette tapes, and then
this is like the early subscription thing. They're
right, and then you're required to buy 2 or 3 more over the next year or whatever.
Right.
That was the whole gimmick, right?
Right.
And but you get these booklet, and they sell you can buy all kinds of other things. So within that one of those booklets and one of those purchases, I bought this song book on how to play, and I was big into 80s rock, Scorpions, Def Leppard, Van Halen, all that stuff. And so Def Leppard book was like a book on how to play their songs, the Pyromania record, I think. And then I bought the book. So I had the book.
And what are you thinking? I have to get behind this. This question was not
asked. The lure, because I remember also at one point I was at a friend's house and he had an electric guitar. He never played it either or anything, and never got plugged in. But it was just it's sort of it caught my eye and oh, that's cool. What is that? I mean, I knew it was a guitar, but I didn't. You know what I mean? It's just kind of okay, and you kind of touch it, but you didn't really know what to do with it, right? It just felt odd in the hands and so forth. But yeah, it was definitely an interest, I guess, So then I bought the book, and then, I remember even asking my mom for a guitar one time, and she was like, no, it's just going to end up in the closet a month later. And, she'd rather spend money, her hard-earned money, because, like most families, I guess, kind of
we don't have money to throw around.
Yeah, exactly. And she had 3 kids, so 4 kids. And so it just wasn't really something that she had bought for me, And
okay, so you're 15 and
I'm working
you've got some cash. You're working at Burger King. What are you doing at Burger King?
What do I do there? I don't know.
Were you flipping burgers, making food, or you were hey guys, the whole thing,
tables, everything. Yeah. They just everywhere.
Okay. Making sure I don't get too much ketchup.
Yeah, and then when I got the job there, because my brother was an hourly manager there, and then it was just kind of like an easy walk-in, So I was like, okay, cool, whatever, let's do it. So when I got my check, I remember it was $130 or something like that. I was
big time money.
Yeah.
Big time money.
And instantly you want to spend it. You don't
100%.
Buy it's say.
What are you talking about? That's horrible.
Yeah.
I've been waiting my whole life to have this much money.
Yeah. So the idea came to me. I was like, I want to buy a guitar. And so who took me? I think it was my cousin that took me. We went to a guitar, a mom and pop guitar show. It's called the Banjo Shop. And
And where is this? This is in California.
This is in Florida.
Oh, in Florida. Okay.
Hollywood, Florida, I think.
Okay.
And
fellow Floridian.
Yeah. And so I picked out a guitar. I mean, I had no idea what to do. It was just gibberish, making noise on it. But I was like, this looks cool,
Let me take a picture of me real quick with my guitar that I now can hold and touch on my own.
Yeah. And then I was hooked. And then I think for that, my mom then started buying me guitar lessons at the Banjo Shop and a subscription to Guitar Player magazine. And then so that was it. At that point, I begged to not be put on the schedule for work. All I wanted to do was just stay home. And I was literally consumed by practicing and playing and just, yeah.
Okay, so does that mean that when, your teacher came to you and said, okay, I want you to practice this week, come back and, show me how far you've gotten on this piece, you were a diligent student
Oh
and
yeah,
got all the way
yeah,
through it?
yeah.
You were in it.
I mean, give or take a week here and there, but yeah, for the most part, I was putting in the work, Yeah.
Okay, good student. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
always
I would say, I kind of became a hermit to some extent, you know what I mean?
because you were obsessed, as we become when we find
I was
something as
obsessed.
magical
Yeah.
as a musical instrument.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, so now you're playing and you're obsessed, and we can't be bothered with social lives or work or whatever. What were your dreams at that point? Were you having cool fantasies about being on a stage and being the frontman, or being just in a band, or what were your dreams at
I'm not
that
really
point?
sure what they were at that time. I'm not sure if they were very. I just wanted to play. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
wanted to sound like the guys on the records that I'm hearing. Like anything beyond that, I don't think I was kind of like that. Wasn't my motivation. It was
Okay,
just,
so when did it
just
start
to
to take a
play.
turn from I'm playing because
Um.
this is enjoyable
Well, when
to,
it sort of to become more of a professional thing.
yeah,
When I graduated high school, I started to take classes at the local community college in Miami, and I went to that one specifically because the teacher that I had at the time, this guy Mario, he was a great teacher, and he started to get me into jazz and kind of a little more advanced stuff, and he was teaching there, and then it just continued, and I think at that point, they start to kind of groom you to do it professionally and stuff like that, and you know was I in a band even at that time? I think I was like in a blues band maybe. I never really had man I, come to think of it, I don't remember when my actually first real band thing was. It might have been that blues band. It was
what was it
called
called?
Janine Miller and the oh my god, the one-eyed some, I don't remember.
The names of the bands, I
No,
just,
and
it
they was like
never,
these were all elder dudes, right? And the woman, so and it was great. It was awesome. It was like and it was such a fun experience, but you
what
know,
did you like about it?
I mean, I was in a band, I was just ripping blues and soloing and shit, and it was just like I mean, I was
Sounds
probably
like so much
probably
fun.
like 18 maybe at the time. So yeah, it was just a way to outlet. Even before that, so I'll take you back. So before that, I was going when I was in high school. Still, I had a buddy, and I'm drawing a blank on his name too, because I've never seen him since. But we had open lunch, right? So that means that you can actually leave campus for that hour of lunch. And he lived right across the street from school, and he played guitar as well. So every lunch we'd go to his house and we'd just jam. That was our,
God.
so that I think may be the beginning of jamming with somebody else, and we'd improvise. Like I'd play rhythm, I'd make up a rhythm part,
Yeah.
and then he'd just solo and go crazy, and then we'd switch. And sort of that was the sort of my introduction to what we call improvising, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just soloing and making things up, but the proper term is improvisation, right? And so we had moments even at that early in the stage where you're just so into it and you're just like into it, like you're not even in
In
your
your
body
body.
anymore, right? You're up here with the floating up here, just like completely lost and into it. So, and I think that's always been a big driving force for me, that moment of creating, of improvising and stuff like that. So
I feel like it's a really important thing about music.
it's the
Right.
therapeutic part of it. You know what I mean? If I have to
Right.
do a gig where I'm playing the same thing every night and nothing deviates from it, it better be a good paying gig because
That's hard to
know
do.
I can't do that anymore. You know,
That's not why you're in it.
no, there's no drive for me. It gets old fast, and just like this is lame. You know, I'd rather
Okay,
be
so you're in college, you're playing with Sally and the one-eyed snake, or whatever
Janine
the.
and the one-eyed cats. The one-eyed that was Janine Miller and the one-eyed cats.
See, I know I'd help you
I
with
was the
that.
one-eyed cat.
Um, and you go, okay, this is a fun thing to do. I could do this. Are you okay? And at that point, are you thinking, okay, I could be in this band or I could be in any band?
Nah, I wasn't really even thinking that far ahead. I was just like having fun in the moment. You know, I don't think I was too much planning, you know. But you know, the teacher starts to say, you know, the teachers, they start to groom you for this professional life as a musician and stuff like that. So with that, you know, a lot of the gigs out there were doing these what they call club dates, right, where you're doing these standard songs and, you know, for corporate dinners or whatever it is. And you know, I've done a few of those, and they're 4-hour gigs. You got to do 4 sets, and they're just kind of like, I was never really, I did and but I just was never really into those type of gigs. You know, I kind of preferred gigs that had an active audience that were like cheering you on and stuff like that. And you know
See,
that
that sounds mind-numbing and not at all fun to
yeah, I
me.
mean, some people like it. You know, I mean, there's some challenge to it. So you know, one is you got to learn a vocabulary of songs. You know, and that type of
Right?
stuff, and just be able to play, and you get your moments of, you know, soloing and improvising and stuff like that, and it's cool. But it's just, for the most part, it's a very sterile crowd, and you're kind of like background music, you know. And
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's important and it matters for those things. I can't stand
I
going
think it's
places where there
important
isn't
to
music.
I think it's a great training ground, you know.
Okay.
But then, you know, people continue to do wedding bands and things like that, or cover gigs, and you know, and I've done a couple cover gigs, and the wedding stuff is just like, I've never really been drawn to it. In fact, I don't even know if I've ever did a wedding band kind of thing, and you know, they pay really well from what I understand, but it's just like, it's just not for me, you know.
You sound like you need some creative freedom, which, I mean, I don't know
Well,
that many
I was
musicians
always in the
don't, but
rock, and then when I started to go to concerts and stuff, you know, it's just like, I think indirectly there was this sort of, you know, that's what I want to do, you know, because I've always been driven more into the band kind of setting, right?
yeah.
And so I've always been in bands, you know. I've always done the band thing, you know.
When I talked to Roseanne, you know, we got off on a lot of different tangents. We talked for a really long time. And, you know, I was like, let's go back to the part where you were in the band. You were traveling with the band. And she just started laughing. I was like, listen, I just can't even imagine that lifestyle. I can't imagine getting in a van or a whatever with all of this equipment, showing up at a place that I've never been to, meeting this guy who was like, yeah, I'd really like you to come and perform, and then setting up all my stuff and just doing this thing and then just getting back in the car and going again. And but what I do imagine very easily is just how much you would love the music and the crowds and that feeling of being in front of people, creating music,
Yeah.
being wild and free, that is just has to be intoxicating.
Oh yeah, yeah. And even when you know, when you know, back in the day, I even enjoyed the driving in the van and the gear and all that stuff. Like there was just like the whole experience was, you know, you're a
The
rock star, right?
camaraderie. It was it the camaraderie? Was it? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, there was that. It was just you're just out there doing it. You know what I mean? You're just making music. You're a rock star. You're living the life. You know, touring and stuff like that. You know.
I was talking to my daughter today, or something about you know, some '80s band and how they would trash hotel rooms and sleeping with everybody and all the drugs and all the alcohol. And I was like, Ava, that's just kind of the rock and roll way, you know, like that was just really how it was done. I don't know if it's still done exactly the same way now. I feel like people feel like maybe you shouldn't be trashing hotel rooms and ruining things in the places that you go, but like it's like a wild and crazy rock star life. Like I think that's just what a lot of people did, especially in the 70s and 80s. And
Yeah, it
probably
wasn't
the
like that when I was on the road. That's for sure. It's a
no,
little bit
you were
more
not.
tame.
You were not
Yeah,
trashing hotel
everyone's
rooms.
vegan and non, and and
Seriously? Everybody's getting their green juice. I was like, dude, let me take my turmeric shot
yeah,
real quick. I've got some
everyone's been
ginger that I'm
alcohol,
soaking.
sober and stuff like that.
That's a different experience. That sounds like an LA experience.
Yeah, I mean, you get your moments of partying and stuff like that, but it's not that raunchy debauchery that it, I assume, was once before.
Yeah, I said I feel like it's changed. I mean, we're coming obviously with all the information that comes through social media. There's a lot more information that we can know about what's going on. For one, it's being recorded. Somebody's got either a video recording or audio recording if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing anywhere in the world. So there's that. And then also we're seeing, the effects of what happens to people's mental health when they are not taking care of their bodies by, ingesting all of this drugs and alcohol. Like, you can still make the music and we want you around.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to stay around making this
Yeah.
music for us. Okay, so you're traveling with the bands.
Mm-hmm.
You have also you are the front man for Robbery Inc., but you've also done session work, right? Where you're going in and just playing for somebody who's recording a song.
Yeah.
You've also composed, and I really want to talk about this. This is something that is I have a really weird fascination with this, the composing for like film, TV.
Yeah.
It's not, well, it isn't. It is that I don't understand how you do that. So I do want to get into that, but you've done that. You produce,
Mm-hmm.
so you're helping other people put their music out as well as producing your own music.
Yeah.
I mean, is this where you thought this would all go? What?
No, not in the early days. I think you think you're just going to be a player, but then eventually you start to look for different streams of income. I've always been into recording, and I had a friend, and he had some songs, and we just started with that, and it kind of went well, and so I started to focus more on that. And then I was like, oh, I could do some film score too. So you put an ad out on Craigslist, and
Oh, what does the ad say on Craigslist? Hi, I'm Robb Torres, and
yeah,
I'll.
just film score, available to score your film. I don't know. I mean, it changed so many times, but
Okay, and so then I reach out to you. Hi, I'm Heather. Hey, Rob, I've got this really creepy Halloween film that I've got coming up, and I need you to score the film. Am I gonna send you the film for you to look at, or
yeah,
how does that work?
yeah. I didn't really do too many of them, but they were all short films. Yeah, you look at it, and then it's very difficult when you're looking at a piece of film with no music on it, and you got to put music, and it's like, what do I do? It's like,
I listened to Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother, talk about. He's just started doing it, and he said it was a real challenge for him because it could just be wrong, not because it's bad. It's just not what they want. And
yeah,
how do you explain to someone this is the mood or the feel? I don't do music, but like, right? Like, so in this part is whatever. I don't know how you
yeah. It's
describe it.
it's not easy. It's definitely not
Yeah,
easy. You got to sort of try and capture what the emotion is at the time, what's going on in the scene or whatever, and try to also, the music can help sort of move the picture along as well, so
I know something scary is coming
very
because
difficult.
it's
Yeah, you
changing.
kind of set it out, but it's also like when you're coming from a sort of song form background, composing is a whole different animal, because it's not, a beat and chord progression. It could be like
Right.
one note, kind of modulating and tune, you know what I mean? And that could help build this intensity depending on what's going on in the scene. So it's almost like you're erasing
That's what I was going to
any
ask.
type of form whatsoever.
Do you feel like you had to retrain your brain to not put the rules of writing a song or putting even a finished work, even without lyrics, even something that's just instrumental would be different than an instrumental piece as opposed to 4 scenes of music in a short film. Composing those two things would be completely different. What did you do to help yourself with that?
I don't know, you just spend hours on the thing and trying different sounds and different notes and stuff until something kind of like clicks in your head, you know, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then sometimes I have to let it sit and come back the next day and listen to that. It's like, yeah, that's still cool. Because sometimes I come back and be like, no, that's not cool anymore. You know, so
Why
it
is
didn't
that
last.
so
It didn't last the
hard?
time test. You know what I mean?
Like sometimes you do something and you're in it and you love it and you're like, this is so amazing. I've
Yeah,
never written
you
anything.
gotta get your ego out of the way, right?
Okay, and to me that feels like composing for a short film, whatever. Seems like it would be, you really do have to take your ego out of it, because if the director or whoever's asking for
Yeah.
the music goes, yeah, that's not really what I was going for, and you go, fit perfectly, and I listened to it, it checked the second day test, like I knew it was right, and then you go, I want something completely different.
Yeah.
How do you put your ego aside?
Well, I
Or
think
do
you
you
gotta.
like the challenge?
No, you have to, but you have to. You can't have an ego in this stuff, you know. But you have to. Maybe there's some initial conversations with the director of what they're looking for. Maybe it's some sort of instrumentation or whatnot, you know, and then you maybe kind of come up with a few sketches and a few ideas before you kind of go
Like
deep
a
into it,
mood
you know?
board?
Huh?
Like a mood board?
Yeah, exactly. Similar, yeah. So you'll kind
Okay,
of,
wow.
and then you also have I think what they call it a spot session, where you and the director kind of get together. You're going through it, and you're like, I want some music here, I want music here, and so you're just kind of like finding the spots where they feel like they want music and stuff, you know. So
Okay, let's rate the different things that you have done. Let's do composing, um, frontman of your own band, being in a band, um, session musician. Yeah, those 4. Which of those rank at the top? And which of those, like, if you never had to
what I
do them
like,
again? Yeah,
what I like doing the
yeah. What makes you feel the best? What you enjoy the most, and why?
That's a tough one, man. I mean, I like producing because it's like I don't have to deal with band drama, and I don't have to deal with the van and the touring and the loading, and you know what I mean. They all, but all the jobs that you mentioned, they all have their sort of awesome moments, you know. So
Right.
it's a very difficult question to answer, but I think producing in this point in my life for now, I like that the most because I can do it on my time, you know. It's just it's still that point of creation, right, where you're creating something, even though it's a song someone else writes, or maybe it's a song that I write. Um, you know, then it's like, how do you develop the song and make it, you know, how do you dress it, basically, right? And that's always fun. But even that sometimes it gets challenging because it's like, okay, how do I start? You know, where do I start from?
That's what I always think about with
And
the producing.
it's a very you just have to start, you know. But
Because I mean, I
the
write
ego gets in the way and tells you, you're not good and all that shit. You know what I mean? And you kind of go through that.
okay,
Those
what are the things that you say to yourself when you're in a space where you're like, I have got to start this project. I have to get going. What are the things that you say to yourself to get yourself?
um I always feel like I do better when there's a specific task at hand to do.
Okay.
You know,
Like you're
but
gonna add the drums today, or you're gonna add
no,
like
just in general, like, okay, I
okay.
have a song and I'm gonna produce it and I'm gonna get it done. So,
You
uh,
give yourself a day to do that, or just to get it?
just to get, I mean, if I,
Okay. Okay.
what I'm saying is like I'm very task motivated
Okay.
as opposed to like if I sit and I don't really have anything urgent to do or anything, like I could probably just, you know, meander my day away and not do anything.
I mean, can't we
You know?
all?
Yeah, like I,
Like, let's get specific about what's supposed to happen today, or
yeah, like I
nothing is
had to
happening.
like sit there and like really like force myself to maybe make a list and like, okay, I gotta do these things or somehow do it, you know. But if there's an urgent thing, urgent task at hand, or I got to mix the song or whatever, you know, then I just jump on it and I just start, you know, pressing buttons until things start to sound good, and then
And then you find
and
yourself
then I
in the
get the
groove.
second wind, and I'm just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it's cool, you know, and then as it starts to progress and become more better sounding to me or whatever, then it enhances the motivation, you know.
Okay, what's the hardest thing that you've done as a musician? What's the your least favorite job that you've done as a musician that you're like never again, or as little as possible?
Mm, of the things that I've done, I
Hmm.
would say probably, you know, and again, I'll preface this by saying at the time that I was doing them, I really enjoyed doing it, you know, and I still find again some, you know, aspects about each one of these things that I like, but I would probably say teaching right now
Yeah,
teaching guitar would be my least favorite, only because it's just not very um you know, it's like you gotta teach a lot. You know, nobody wants to pay for it, and you know, it's like it's not consistent, and unless the student is really like advancing, then I'm not interested. You know, I'd love to still teach a handful of students that were super into it, like, you know,
like you were.
that are interested in and that are really put in the work. Like I'd love to still kind of have a handful of that, but to like just teach beginners and stuff, you know, I don't want to
So
do that.
maybe you should only, if you do ever teach, you should only teach people who have gotten to a point where they feel like they can't take themselves any farther, and they
Yeah,
just want that extra,
yeah.
just something
But you know,
cool.
when we're also in a day and age where there's so much information online, YouTube,
Yeah,
and like, you know, you can buy courses, guitar courses from super famous guitar players and guys and stuff like that.
crazy.
So it's like the information's out there. Like, you know,
You
it,
don't have to do it again. I
yeah,
won't
the
make
job
you.
of the guitar instructor is kind of like dwindling away. You know.
I don't know that I would do personally very well. Like I play piano. Okay, I play by ear, so it's improvisational a lot. And so and I wasn't a very good student. I was the student that was like, I played something else this week. I didn't like that piece you gave. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. And because I played by ear, which I didn't know at the time, then I would just have her play it back to me and
Yeah.
then be like, "Oh, thanks." And then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I got it now."
Oh, you got a good ear
Which
then.
okay, well, that's not great for reading music. So, that it's still hard. Can I do it if I sat down for hours upon hours
Of
going,
course.
I know the notes, I understand time. Okay, and then I'm like, oh, one, and it's painful. It hurts me, and I don't enjoy it. So I think that for me, because I've really thought about playing the guitar, I think it's one of piano and guitar are my favorite, as well the drums. Okay, so just a nice three piece, and brass. Okay,
How about the what is it, the
triangle.
cowbell?
The cowbell, it has its place. I mean, a perfectly placed cowbell really feels nice. I'm not going to lie about that. I love musical instruments, but I do love brass. But if I had to pick two things, again, three, piano and guitar. I mean, I, the more I listen to probably more guitar-based ballads than piano because I feel like there is more. And I thought about playing the guitar, and it intimidates me so bad. One, I like to have pretty long fingernails, and that is not conducive.
Yeah.
Unless I'm picking with one hand, but then this one hand, and then it's a whole situation.
Yeah.
And also, it sounds like it hurts when you're getting used to it.
At first, it did.
I mean, did you play until your fingers bled, literally?
Not bled, but there was definitely some, some pain in the fingertips.
Okay, do you really have to press down that hard? Why does it look like some people aren't pressing down very hard? And this is a real technical question, but I'm still curious.
I mean, you got to press down enough for it to sound, but yeah, I mean, but once you get past that stage, your fingers have developed, and so
does it make it easier because you have like calluses on the tips of your fingers?
Well, I guess
So
there's calluses there, but they don't feel tough. They don't really feel like they're like these nasty blocks of dried skin. It's actually pretty soft, but they don't. It's not like what's on the heel of your foot, you know what I mean, or anything like
that. My dad, I should know that. My dad played the guitar. I grew up in church, and we had a whole bunch of guitar players. Like, we went to a non-denominational church, so it was like one central piano player, and then anybody that played guitar could play while we had worship. And that's probably where my love of music comes from. Firstly, it's firstly a word. Anywho, but I've always been fascinated by it. But every time I pick it up, I can't seem to make them make the noises that I want them to make. I can hear what sounds right. I know where it's supposed to go, and I know it's wrong, but I can't seem to get past that point, and I don't want my fingers to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be obsessed, in your opinion. This is a question. In your opinion, do you need to be obsessed to be a really good guitar player?
I think so. Probably, yeah. I would say so. You have to put in the time, and it's difficult at first, so most people just kind of don't want to put in the time. They don't put it to work, so yeah, you have to be obsessed. I remember I used to actually I would time it. I'd make out a schedule that was 8 hours long. Yeah, I'd do 45 minutes with a 15-minute break, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, and I'd write out every little thing I want to do. And I remember one summer I stuck to that plan. Yeah.
That is incredibly disciplined.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing the right thing.
I don't do that anymore.
Well, I know, but I'm saying to have that kind of passion, though.
An hour into it,
I know.
Okay, it's like, I try to keep up and stay, keep things moving and stuff, but
Okay, the other question that I want to have before we get into some final, I've been told that I'm not to keep you too long, and we could sit here. I could sit here and chat forever, but we both have other things to do, I'm sure. But one of the things that I want to ask you about is I know that you were playing in bands and you were singing background vocals in these bands, and then it was like, then there is Robbery Inc. And surely there was a process between being in other bands like Trapped and then starting Robbery Inc. How did you decide? What made you decide to do that? How did you find your band members? Tell me about the invention or the beginning of Robbery Inc.
Well, I had a band back before that where I started to sing, and then when I moved to LA, I was part of another thing, and I kind of put my own thing aside. So it does go back before that, but yeah, I don't know. It's you go through one band, and then when that band's over, or when you're no longer in that band, then you're like, I'm gonna do it myself, and then sort of like you just start to just kind of work at it, and
How do you find band members to be a part of your band?
Usually it's like friends of friends or friends, or it starts like that. I mean, it's
Where you
kind of
go,
a bit of
I
a,
need a guitarist or I need a bassist and I need a drummer and
yeah.
a
You
piano,
just
a
usually, I
keyboardist.
think with Robbery Inc. It started out where I knew I knew a drummer and he had a bass player friend, and we just started jamming, and it's not like, hey, let's form a band. It's just kind of, you just jam and you kind of get a vibe, and you're just making shit up, and then like, hey, I got a tune. You wanna jam?
Okay,
You
so it's a little
play it,
more
and
organic than like
yeah,
my
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of girly way of like forming the girl cult of we're going to help the
It
world,
definitely is a little bit more organic. Like, I prefer it that way. I'll try to see if there's a vibe, between the players and stuff like that, and then yeah, I mean, as far as the singing goes, I've always struggled with that, but you know, I've come to realize, like, it's just another instrument. You gotta put in the time practicing. You gotta sort of. It's a very harsher, not harsher, but it's like a little bit more. When you're playing guitar, you're like, whatever, I'm playing guitar. But when you're like practicing singing, doing all your scales and stuff like that, it's like you kind of like try to find a more private space, and you don't want anybody. You don't
some.
want anybody hearing you, choking on notes and things like that. So it's just kind of like, it's a bit more of a of that involved. But I had like singing tapes, and I try to teach myself, and then, but I did find this one instructor, this guy Mark Baxter, and he lives in Boston, but he would fly to LA every month and for a weekend, and he'd take on a handful of students. And so I started taking some lessons with him, and then when I started taking lessons with him, it just like everything just started to make sense.
What types
Um,
of things was he teaching you that were different than what you were?
Nothing, nothing. It was just the way he was teaching it. But a lot of it's just the same, syllables and scales and things like that. But as I would do them, he would explain, and maybe it was also, kind of at a time when you know it was like the perfect handoff from what I had been working on before to him. He just kind of was able to take where I was at and really fine tune it and make it better. I'm still not a great singer, but I could kind of hold a tune and try and make
I
something
think you
cool
have a
happen.
really really cool vibe. The song "Lying to You," your most recent single,
Thank you.
that needs to be live in front of me. I was like, man, I can only imagine what this is like live.
Yeah, I would love to
Uh,
play it live, but we'll see.
okay, so I feel like it really says something about your person, though, that you took on the singing. I know that the story is that the song was being written, and you're like, okay, the co-writer's gonna sing it, and she's like, oh no, no, you're gonna sing it, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? We're gonna do
On
what?
this song?
I don't know. I'm talking about when you first started singing,
Mm.
when you were writing, and you weren't the front man, and there was some conversation that you had with somebody that you were writing with, and you thought that she was going to sing it. I think it's a she, and she said no. Like, this is I plan on you singing the song.
Was it maybe yeah, maybe it was something about you and Ride or something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And so I just feel like there's some bravery in that, and I can imagine. I mean, it's the same thing. Like if I wanted to start playing guitar after I've been playing piano, like I feel really comfortable when I sit down at the piano. Like I'm not scared. I'm not fantastic at it, but I can play enough that I could listen to your song a couple of times and I could bang it out on the piano, and that makes me feel good. But to go into playing something or doing something that I haven't done, there's a difference in the feeling. It's really not a big difference in singing back. If you sing background vocals, of course you could be the frontman. But there's a difference in the feeling of standing in the front and being like you're presenting your voice as
Yeah.
the
The
full
big,
the
yeah,
full
yeah,
sound of this band.
yeah. That was big, big
Um,
difference for sure.
did it take
Took
you
a
a
while.
while?
Yeah, yeah, to
Yeah.
get over that. I mean, I think a lot of it is just kind of being comfortable in that position too, in that
Oh,
role, you know, and
What would your advice be to someone who's like, I'm okay, I can carry a tune, and I would kind of like to do that, but I don't know if I can get past it.
I mean, my advice would be to really practice and study and hone your craft in, because that's just only going to get you better. You know what I mean? And then then you're going to get a point where you're comfortable with that. So you're eliminating that from the equation, right? You don't need to worry about, okay, am I going to hit that note, or am I going to crack on this note? No, because you've done the work. You know, you're good in that aspect, right? You can hit the note and stuff like that. Now it's like focus. Now you can eliminate that and focus on like just connecting with the crowd and the performance of it, right? And that only gets better by constant performance. You can't practice a performance. You got to perform, and that's your practice, right? So you got to keep doing that over and over again. But if you're performing and you have to work on, and you're thinking about trying to hit a note or worried about it, then it just gets all messy,
We're too soon.
Yeah.
Keep going. Robb Torres, the good student.
Yeah.
This is what I'm learning about. Were you a good student in school?
You gotta yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think I had a 4.0.
Damn. Okay. I mean, I think sometimes people get into music because they think that they're not going to have to do, I don't want to say hard work. It sounds fun. I think some people think, oh, music will be so fun, but there is work.
Well,
involved.
There's definitely some people who are gifted and a lot of it comes naturally, and they just kind of like, they're having fun and doing it. They're not really getting too academic with it. And they do great, you know what I mean? But,
But I would say that that's not the norm.
Guys, it's probably more norm than not, really.
You think?
I think, it's hard to say. I mean, you got to really look into each one of those specific examples, but I think a lot of people are just, probably more back in the day, more the classic guys. They're living and breathing that stuff, and they're just so good,
I mean, we're seeing the cream of the crop at that point, though. I mean, I think right now, we have more access to seeing all different stages of people as musicians. Just starting out, the first thing that they post as a video on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And I think that, one of the things that I hope that this podcast can do is show people there's a full journey here. Like, it's not like you just wake up and you're like, I put out Lying to You 10 days ago or whatever. And it's hit. Yeah, it's hit. It's on TikTok everywhere. It's a billion streams. It's already happened. It's like, no, there's a whole story.
How wicked was that?
Yeah, but there's a whole story to that. And it's important, especially to me, to hear the full story, because the journey is worthwhile. Everything that you've learned up to this point, to the guy that didn't really think that he could be a frontman, to this song, which I would have never imagined that you weren't. I mean, I listened to that and was like, this is a joke. Like, because I'd already listened to the interviews, and then I come and listened to that, and I went, come on. Like, you didn't know that you had that ability? Like, it's not, your voice is not generic. It has something really raw and gritty and very cool to it. It's, as the kids say, really vibey. And that's not like something that you can teach if it's not there. It probably has to be there. So I think that, like, it's important for people to hear the whole story of how it came. Or they think, oh yeah, Robb Torres is always saying like that. He's just cool like that. He's always played like that. He's always saying like that. And that's just not the case. There's a whole process to getting here.
I think for me, the more I did it, then it kind of became where you started to kind of find the personality in it, you know what I mean, in the voice and stuff, and I think it's something that just kind of ever evolving too,
It's cool.
Yeah, so
it's cool. Keep going. Keep doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
going. I mean, it's growing. It's kind of finding its way, so let's see.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of what was that word? Rapid fire questions.
Okay.
These are the fun questions for the fans, just strange and silly, and some maybe a little more serious. So tell me, what would be your ideal vacation? That could be a place, or it could be things that you do on vacation.
Okay, tell me the question again.
Ideal vacation. It can be a place or things you do, or both.
Ideal vacation? Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Am I supposed to answer really fast, or?
No, you don't have to answer fast. It's just a couple of fast questions that you can answer very slowly.
Ideal vacation. So it's a place where I'd want to go.
Or something that you would like to do. Like if you don't like to travel far, if that's not your idea of rest and relaxation,
Yeah.
it can be
I think I'd
whatever you
like
want
to
it
go
to
to
be.
Tokyo, man. I've never been to Japan, Greece.
Nice.
You know, those are a couple places that I think would be cool.
My son is
I like
studying
seeing really
Japanese right now.
historic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Like when
Oh
I was
yeah, is that the first thing
in
that you go to
Rome, and
see?
when you see the Rome and you see the ruins and the Colosseum and all these other fancy places, you know, it's just like historic places. It's just like, wow.
I close my eyes and imagine them walking there, but with their clothes and their shoes and
Yeah,
their.
it's just really
I just go,
bizarre.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your most your favorite concert you've ever attended, and a concert that you'd like to go to, or an artist that you'd like to see in concert?
My favorite concert that I attended. Okay, well, my first concert was Judas Priest, and my second was Van Halen with the new singer Sammy Hagar. So those were pretty amazing experiences because I didn't know I was gonna go, and I was visiting my brother. We would visit him for the summer because he was living with my father, you know. And he was like, "Yo, I got us some tickets for the show," and I was like, I mean, 13 or 15 or something like that, 13 probably, and I was just blown. I was like, I remember singing every song and stuff. So I'd have to say those are still my favorite. But further on, we went to an NXS show, and they were a little bit more, obviously more pop band and stuff. But
Yeah.
man, it was like everyone was dancing in the aisles. It was just such an amazing show. You know, I remember that just like, man, everyone's just having a good time here, you know. So that was cool. Who I'd like to go see? There's a band called Idols that I've been really into, IDLES, and I hear they put on a great show. I'd like to see them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Weird food combo, or something that you just feel like we should all be having, some indulgence or something. Either or both.
Well, I don't know how good I'm going to be on that question. I've been reading this book called Good Energy, and it's all about how all the shit that's in our food these days, and all the preservatives, and all the
So you're
fruit
gonna put us
dyes,
onto
and all this
celery juice,
shit. Yeah. So it's like
spirulina.
I'm trying to keep it clean these days, you know. So weird
Okay,
food.
what's something that's really good for you and healthy that we would be surprised that is good for you and also tastes good?
An avocado.
Okay, we'll give you an avocado. Avocado is.
You could start with that. I've been making my own avocado toast
I
for
love it.
breakfast every day, saving myself $20 a day.
It's $20 in LA for a piece of avocado toast?
And I've seen them all priced all over, but yeah, it's ridiculous
Oh
how much.
my Lord.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
I never order avocado toast when I go out. It's just like I don't get that.
Bread and an avocado.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Avocado is good.
Yeah.
I will agree with you on that. What is the most overrated and underrated holiday?
Overrated. Jesus. I don't even really pay attention to this. Let's see. Okay, how about didn't we just do like Columbus Day or something? Like,
Right.
I mean,
Probably.
now it's
Yeah, I don't know if we should be celebrating Columbus coming.
Yeah, it's a bit of a talking point, that holiday.
Yeah.
So
And what's underrated?
underrated.
But we
Geez,
should be celebrating it
these
more.
are tough ones, man. You're giving me. These are some tough ones. I don't think I'm not a holiday person anymore. Like, oh, well, there's Halloween coming up, I know it's like everyone does it, but I haven't dressed up in Halloween for, I don't
Okay,
even know
what
how
about
many.
do you like Thanksgiving?
I like Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna say Thanksgiving
I
for
like
your
Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's good.
underrated. Getting together with family,
Yeah.
maybe. What do you eat on Thanksgiving?
Well, hopefully some turkey.
I mean, hopefully.
And hopefully it's
Not
deep fried.
everybody
I
does.
like the deep fried turkey.
Oh, I do love a deep fried turkey. So my birthday rolls on Thanksgiving every 4 years.
Oh, wow.
It's so horrible. And so my mother will say, "You know what I was thinking, Heather? This year for your birthday, let's do turkey. Let's
Hmm.
have a whole meal. Let's get everybody together." I'm like, it's not funny. It's not funny that we're getting together on Thanksgiving and it's my birthday, and I hate it. So
Well, what
thanks.
holiday is coming up? Let's see. We have well, we just had Columbus Day, and then there's Diwali. What is Diwali?
I don't know.
Um,
And I don't like Halloween because it just reminds me of my childhood when I didn't get to trick or treat, and I'm still angry about that.
you know what? The I think it's interesting. Like when it comes to Christmas and stuff like that, I love Christmas and all that stuff, but I don't know. Kind of that time of the year, I get a little bit more sad.
I
I don't know
feel like
why.
that's such a common feeling for so
Yeah,
many people, and all it takes is a loss of any sort, whether it's a loss of a family member or uh, you know families that break up over divorce or whatever. It just creates this really strange dynamic,
yeah, and I also
and
feel like it's kind of stressful. It's almost like it's this
money,
pressure to
commercialism.
be
Yeah,
made into this big
right.
ridiculous holiday. You know what I mean? And I'm not putting it down or anything, but it's just like me personally. Yeah, I feel the pressure coming into Christmas. Like it's supposed to be this
Has to be
grandiose
magical.
thing, but it's like it's just it's just kind of everyone should sort of absorb it as to how they've connect
I
to it.
think Christmas should be more like Thanksgiving. And in that, you should spend it with people that you love and you care about,
Yeah,
but with more sparkle and glitter and bows and lights and trees, because I do love all of that.
I got an underrated one. Groundhog
Okay.
Day. That's it.
Okay.
The Groundhog.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there going to be more winter or is spring coming? Okay.
Yeah.
I do like that. It's, let's see. Personality pet peeve.
About me?
I mean, it could be about you, or you can make it about other people. So something that gives you the ick or that bothers you that people do that you're just like, could you not?
I think as of late, I feel like I'm a little specific in maybe how I want things, and you know,
So you did make it about you.
yeah,
Oh, it's okay. You can be. I feel like the older that I get, I go, yeah, I'm good. I don't really want to compromise anymore. I'm. I
yeah.
do. I do with my friends.
I think it's for me it'd be more of a work thing, where it's like, you know, but I don't know. Hard to answer that one.
I tried to pick questions that weren't as common because every interviewer everywhere does some kind of questions at the end, and I just tried to pick ones that I didn't hear very often. I didn't want to ask you what superhero you would be because I figured you'd say Spider-Man.
Oh, I like Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. No, Superman.
Superman. I would fly. Oh, I would fly. Oh, to be a bird.
Yeah.
Two more. What is the kindest thing anyone has ever done for you?
Wow.
I mean, they could be something that they did or something that they said.
Maybe that might be a difficult one to answer too. I give my music. Okay, here's one that I could think of. I mean, there's probably a million of them that I can think of, but you know, I think. Oh, here's one. Here's a good one. So, my past birthday, my wife purchased a very nice guitar for me, and it was pretty awesome. Here, I'll show it to you. It's made out of metal. It's a metal guitar.
Oh, wow.
It's a
Okay,
James.
how did she know what you
James
would
guitar.
like?
I think she liked it.
She was like, I want to see you play
I want to
this.
see you play a rustic
Yeah,
guitar. So
that's
yeah,
super cool.
and I designed it with the owner and stuff. We picked out the parts and stuff. So yeah, it's a very nice guitar, and they're not very cheap, but it's a one of a kind piece. And
So cool. I've never seen a guitar like that before.
yeah,
I saw in one of your other interviews that you have a guitar that's named after your wife.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy, LSL, is the company, and they name all the guitars, So again, this one they built it for me, so it's a one of a kind. And they're like, "Well, what name do you want to give it?" I was like, well, "It's only one, really. I got to
Get
start
away
with
with.
this one." And then they made me a bass and I put my mom's name on it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that. Good
well, they put
son.
a sticker on it, right? That's the name. But actually,
Yeah,
inside in the wood underneath it, they actually stamp. They stamp it as well, so it's
that is
it's
so
it's
cool.
permanently on
How
the
many
inside.
guitars do you have? Do you know?
Ah, okay. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 10 at the moment.
Okay, who's your favorite right now? Who do you love right now?
Of
Your
who?
favorite guitar
Favorite guitar?
right
Uh,
now. Right now. I know that it probably changes, but who are you in love with
yeah,
the
it's
most
hard.
right
I
now?
don't know. I think the one that I just showed you is pretty. It's because it's new. So you really want to
Right.
play it and stuff like that. But I think every guitar has a specific role. I don't think if I were to grab one guitar to kind of do everything,
Yeah.
right? I would probably pick this guitar here, this black guitar.
That is so beautiful. Can you play it for me now?
Yeah, this is the Framus.
Or does it have to be plugged in?
Yeah, it's got to be plugged in, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, this
beautiful.
guitar is a German-made Framus. It's pretty solid guitar. It sounds great, and that would be like my Desert Island one probably because I feel like it could encompass a lot of sounds in it.
But you gotta have an amp
Well,
on the
it's
desert island.
semi-hollow, so technically no, but yeah, sounds better
Last
when it's plugged into an amp.
lastly, what are your words to live by?
Oh God.
I mean, that can just be for now. I feel like that changes over time. So it doesn't have to be something, but yeah, where are you living
I'm
in that
not
right
very
now?
prolific in that sense,
You don't
but
have to be prolific.
I would say just if I were to say one thing, I would really say like live your day to the fullest.
I love
Try
that.
it. Yeah. I
And
mean,
be a good student. Robb Torres says, be a
be a
good
good human.
student.
Be a good human.
Yes, come on. Let's try. Let's do
Yeah.
better. Um, First of all, I just want to thank you so much for giving me your time today. I know this is not everybody's favorite thing to do. It is my favorite thing to do, and I really dig it. You have been absolutely delightful, and I think that the listeners will really enjoy to hear that, yeah, you're going to have to dig in. You're going to have to dig in. If you want to be really good at something, you're going to have to dig in and do the work.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to put
and then you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it.
Even with that, like, even if, some people are kind of naturally talented and stuff like that, you still got to put in the work.
That's right.
To hone in that ability,
I used to struggle when I was a kid. There were certain things that I was just naturally very good at. And so if I tried something new that I wasn't, I struggled with wanting to do it. And as I've grown, I'm like, no, Heather, everything just doesn't just come natural and easy. Some things take a little more work and time, and they still have value, and you can still get good at them, because most people have to practice. Like, yes, there are amazing baseball players or amazing guitarists who just, they just get out and it's like, wow, that's amazing. You did so much in a year. I can't believe what you've learned. And then the other people that practice for 30 years. And then the same point, they're just as good as the other. One had to put in more work, but my God, you still get to do it.
Absorb it at different rates and stuff like that.
That's fine. Just do it. Just put in the work. So
you have to love it. You have to really.
You do
the work.
If you don't love it, maybe don't do it.
If you don't
do it. Yeah. For those of you that are listening today that don't love music, just don't. Just do something else. Do math. Okay.
Well, music is math.
Yeah. Okay. So do geography. What is a song that if I had to go to somebody today and I said, this is Robb Torres, this is Robbery Inc., this is the one, what song would that be?
Oh, let me look at my discography here.
I love that word.
I mean, I know it's the latest song that I put out, but Lying to You definitely is me. Even though I wrote it with Roseanne, who's a phenomenal co-writer, the music and the melody and everything was kind of like comes from me. And it's definitely like, it's kind of sums it up. But then if you go to the first EP, the Crave EP, something like Crave, the song Crave, I mean, that's the song that I wrote back when I had that little VS880,
Yeah.
But it was more of a punk song. And so I just took the lyric and rewrote the music, changed the groove and everything. So it's a little different, but that song goes way back, and Crazy as well. Those two songs go way, way back.
I love that. I do like when
that's like early Robbery Inc., like early Robb Torres, and then you got the bookend to Lying to You, which I think is a really cool song. It's it's got a fierce solo in it, which I'm happy about. It's just, but I couldn't have done it without Roseanne. She just kind of helped me.
She pulls it out.
Yeah, she's a master storyteller, and writing lyrics is very difficult. And I tend to just write it and then forget it. That's what it is, But you get somebody like Roseanne or any like real writer, and they're constantly editing it and like, no, this is not right there. This is it. No, this is it. No, let's change this word here. No, this is it. And it's constantly, and I imagine somebody like that, they just love doing it. They're just songsmiths, they love playing with words and stuff like that. The same way that I'd like composing a solo or putting a music, the sound of the guitar, like really tweaking that in and recording it, and how it just kind of evolves,
All right, what do we have coming next for Robbery Inc. and Robb Torres?
Well, I mean, I have another song in the can that I'm gonna put out, but I'm gonna probably wait a few months for that. I just put it out, and whoever wants to listen to it and dig it, then that's cool. And maybe something will catch fire, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So I'm not ruling anything out, but
leaving the doors wide open.
Oh yeah. But for me to like the idea of me sort of getting in a van and going on tour for months at a time, for no money, that doesn't work. That doesn't really make sense. I think that's called moving backwards. Because even if you get a record deal, that doesn't mean anything. That
it's all changed.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's not the same as it was before. So I'm happy. I feel a good sense of sort of completion and release when I put a song out, and leaving a legacy out there, if we want to call it that. You know what I mean?
100% we'll call it a legacy.
Time capsule, and trying to put out as much music as I can. Really, I think it'd be great. And
I love it. Don't ever stop making it. I feel like, the most important thing is you don't realize, I say this almost in every episode, you don't realize how important your music is to people who need it in the space and time that they do.
Yeah.
And, it comes out on the 11th of October and the 12th, somebody happens upon it and they go, damn, this is, I had to have this today.
Yeah.
And for whatever feeling that it brings to them or how it relates to their personal life or relates to just what's going on with them, just the feeling is so important. Like you said before, music is therapy, and it doesn't have to be in live shows. Just we have to be able to have it. And when musicians stop making their music, it's like, as a fan, as a fangirl myself, I just, I'm just begging my favorites, just don't ever stop. Because we have a way to do it. You can sit right there and make something really cool and vibey.
Yeah.
It's my word of the day. For us to enjoy. And, start to finish, you put a whole project out and you don't have to ask anybody's permission. And is this going to feel whatever to whomever said, no, you're the creator and you get to make that for us. So thank you for making music for us and performing for people and giving them experiences and letting them experience joy because you're willing to be up there, being a crazy wild rock star. It's great. We gotta have them, like there's some kid out there just going, man, I want to play the guitar like Robb Torres. Like, how do I do it? It's like hard work. Get in there, do your stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for your time today. I hope I didn't keep you too long. It is easy to run away with the time here in the chat. But thank you so much for being a part of this.
You. Good luck on the rest of the podcasts.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.